Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most exciting chess tournaments in quite some time has just concluded its final round. And we have candidates that will be playing in the next candidates tournament to crown who will challenge for the World Championship. And it was an absolute cinema, like it says on the thumbnail. Here's the situation. Anish Giri is playing Hans Niemann. Vincent Keimer is playing Arjun Erigaisi. Matthias Blubaum is playing Alireza Firouzja. 5 out of the 6 people I just said have 7 points. Other players can play spoiler. Players like Abhimanyu Mishra and Andy Woodward, 2 young stars from the United States, have a 2 to 3% chance of qualifying if they win their games. Let's get into the action. What a day. Let's go. Anish Giri, Hans Niemann. If you follow the chess world closely, you know that these two have been connected because they have played many matches against each other. Hans Niemann defeated Anish Giri in an over-the-board match, then they played online. Anish Giri has struck back in some of those matches, and now they actually have a high-stakes classical chess matchup. Anish opens with the move c4. Now, the amazing thing about this game, keep in mind they both have 7 out of 10. On the next board, both of these guys have 7 out of 10. And on this board, only Vincent Keimer has 7 out of 10. The problem for these two is somebody has to win because they have poor tie breaks. If they tie for first with only 7.5 points, there is a good chance they are eliminated. So somebody here has to win, and what better way to play for a win than a reverse Sicilian defense? This is the 4 Knights English opening, one of the most theoretically dense openings over the last 5 to 6 years in the chess world. White here can play a3, d3, e3, g3. White has also played knight d5 and e4. E3 is the main line. Hans plays bishop to b4. Queen c2. All of this has been played before. Now, historically, black has castled here. The knight has jumped to d5, etc. In modern times, the bishop is being traded away for the knight immediately because black is unafraid of white having the bishop pair, because this diagonal is blocked, this diagonal is also a bit blocked, and after queen c3, the most common move now is queen to e7. This is a very, very well-explored position with many, many moves. There's a3, b3, d3, d4, bishop e2, like literally they have played everything here. Anish plays the move a3, a general waiting move, and also could potentially go b4 and could stop the move, knight b4 in the future. Now, black here can be very solid or also very dynamic. There are positions where black actually shoves both center pawns forward, trying to mess up the equilibrium in the white position. Hans here plays the move d5. He plays it after some thought, which makes me think this is this was not what he had prepared in his hotel room before the game. Something, like obviously he knows the moves, and now d4 is the move from Anish, and now there are several choices for black, but most of them involve taking the pawn on d4. The thing is, e4 looks like a nice move, but white is not, white is spoiled for choice there. White can put the knight forward, could even put the knight backwards and reposition it. White even can probably go to d2 and then try to maneuver over here. Everything, and there are some positions white will just take and open up the c file. So we have pawn takes, knight takes, queen takes. Now, white is already, as far as I'm concerned, very slightly better. Why is white slightly better? Well, white is opening up the position and white has the 2 bishops. So ultimately, like, one of these boys is going to go to this diagonal, maybe to that diagonal. This bishop will probably go to this diagonal. White will castle, do something in the center, and just have a very long-term, annoying type of grinding advantage. Hans Niemann's winning chances are already probably less than 5%. The only way that you play for a win in a position like this is first you have to get into a bad position. And then your opponent has to put a lot of pressure on you and potentially open themselves up for counterattack or a nervous breakdown, which does happen in, top tournaments. c5 is the move that Hans chooses. The queen rotates to h4. And now black has several options, but as you can already see, black is under a lot of pressure. You got, the king in the middle. White is going to castle. White has no obvious weaknesses in the position, despite having a totally undeveloped first rank. It's just the way that chess works. Black can take, but then white will develop. Black can castle, but then if you castle, I take and probably trade queens with you, and then kind of grind that position down. Bishop e6 is chosen by Hans. We have pawn takes d5. By the way, if you look at Anish Giri's time management, he hasn't thought. So he has a 35-minute time advantage, clearly showing the opening preparation, showing also the experience. Like I've been saying throughout this tournament, I have gone on multiple rants in some of these recaps, and I have said that Anish Giri has this like really dumb reputation of being a boring player from some previous tournaments. You know, he in this game detonates some, you know, massive prep bomb on Hans. He was probably deciding between taking with the bishop and trading this, right? So he goes takes, and now it just puts the bishop back because he doesn't want to give away the bishop pair. The advantage for white in the bishop pair is that they control the long-term diagonals. And as I've already said, like, this is now, Hans Niemann now has a winning chance in this game of about 2%. Because where I previously told you that Anish, you know, will put some pressure in a better position and could open himself up to counterattack, there's no counterattack here for black. It doesn't exist. Some of you have been following this tournament. Remember the game Giri, Jordan Van Forest? Similar type of thing. Hans goes rook c8, f3, a very nice move. The idea of f3, and by the way, f3 is quite literally the top choice of the computer. The other one might have been some very obscure g4. f3 is a very nice move because you could build up a very nice central block against the knight and also against the bishop, and then you will bring your king here. You'll activate the bishop on the diagonal. This is just a very high-level understanding type of move. Niemann plays f6. So kind of trying to mimic, also just generally, you know, maybe you want to blunt the bishop on the diagonal. You have some other ideas, maybe to bring the king. King f2. So Giri decides this is the best setup, and now I'm going to decide what to do with these bishops. Hans does the exact same thing, but it's actually not very good. Look at the advantage, 0.8, right? Here it's only 0.3, but this little mutual king walk doubles white's advantage. It's just fascinating what the computer understands about chess that we can't even begin to understand. Now, rook to d1. The bishop gets out of the way, and now we have h4. h4 is wild. h4 is like, here I would automatically play the move e4, block the knight. Obviously, I lose control of this, but then I put the bishop there, double my rooks. What Hans wants to trade the rooks. He wants to trade the rooks off the board. He wants to get the bishop knight versus the two bishops because the more pieces that get traded, the less powerful the bishop pair advantage is for white. b6 now, it's kind of like a pawn game, right? Look at this. Pawns together, maybe h5 is coming, just completely control the black position. Hans goes to c6, Anish plays bishop e3. So just a very small advantage for white that he is massaging, right? But now Hans has gone from 40 minutes up to 10 minutes down. That's a massive time turnaround, and there's the counterplay. There's the counterplay that we've been promised from Mr. Niemann, right? The knight is coming into b3. Rook goes to d6, a mistake made, apparently. Apparently, this extremely natural move, putting pressure on the bishop, looking to double, is the wrong move. Rook e8, g4, expanding all the pawns. Ideas like g5 are lurking. Ideas like, you know, in the future, there's going to be a b4 lurking. Hans kicks out the rook. The rook retreats to d2 because you're ready for rook d1. At some point, maybe we're looking to trade the rooks, but not so fast. And this bishop is going to be the key difference. Hammering down on those pawns. Knight goes back to a5. Rook goes back to d6. Hans repeats the position. Anish doesn't repeat the position and goes rook c1, loading up the cannons, hits the rook, takes, and now b4. And folks, now we see the power of the bishop pair. White is striking at that side of the board. Hans Niemann now in critical territory. Critical territory, it's plus 1.5 for white. He jumps the knight into b3, attacking the rook. Rook to c3, rook to d6. You can take the pawn. You can take the pawn. Computer really wants g5. I don't really understand g5. You can take the pawn and try to win the pawn. And Anish Giri here, capitalizing on the Niemann mistake. Hans needed to play knight c5 and suffer through that position. It kind of leads to similar stuff, but he takes with the pawn, and now, watch this. Rook takes b3. Bishop takes, bishop c5, and this endgame is apparently completely winning for white. Because you are going to trade the bishop for the rook, and this pawn majority versus this one where white has the pawn advantage is sufficient for a win. Anish Giri spots this after some 9 minutes of thought, calculating this endgame out and understanding that here he is winning if he plays the move g5, if and only if that pawn move is played, taking a decisive space advantage from his opponent, where he will then expand. This is so important to have a connected, quartet of pawns over there that all moves forward together and limits the black position from moving. We have bishop back to e6, king to e3, king to c5. Anish marches the king forward. He has to make 2 moves or he loses on time. Now both players have made 40 moves. I know it looks like they've lost on time. They haven't. They get some bonus time. And now in this position, it's over. This is a totally winning king and pawn endgame. Why? Because you go e5. And after pawn takes, king takes, this pawn will promote. I am shouldering your king away. You cannot get close if you play king before I play a6. And my bishop on e2 defends my pawn. It's just a pawn majority. It's a more active king. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 46th move of the game, Hans Niemann resigned. An absolute positional masterclass in the final round of the Grand Swiss. And Anish Giri is going to the candidates. Or is he? Or is he? Nothing is set in stone because actually, Anish Giri might have a worse tiebreak than Vincent Keimer and one of these two players. If Bluebaum and Keimer win, Anish Giri might tie for first in this tournament and not make it to the candidates, which is completely crazy. So meanwhile, while Anish Giri is putting on this clinic, and you got to say commiserations to Hans, because Hans has a lot of fans. I don't know if Hans is on the thumbnail, because I sometimes like to test thumbnails. You can put up 2 thumbnails. And sometimes, you know, I'll put one face, another face. You all like to click on Hans Niemann because he's one of the most popular players in the world. Yeah, he was very close. And I mean, it was always going to be hard to win with black, but Anish Giri came to play today. Now, this game, Bluebaum has very good tie breaks. So Bluebaum is actually okay with a draw. Clearly, Firouzja is not. He shows up and plays the Dutch defense. I mean, you got to love the guy. He goes full Hikaru, right? He plays the Dutch defense in a must-win situation. He plays the Leningrad, or he plays the Firouzja. This is the Dutch Firouzja variation, the double fianchetto, right? Really playing provocatively. You gotta love how Bluebaum is playing this, by the way. Look how Bluebaum's playing. He just takes a full 4 pawns forward, right? D4, C4, B4, A4. And it's just like, well, black is gonna have to bring the fight to me. Firouzja's trying to win, you know? And in playing the Dutch defense, he's gonna suffer with a potentially slightly worse position. That's just how it works. That's the Dutch. I mean, that's sort of the Dutch, you know? And A5 played. B takes. Rook takes A5. Control. It's all about control. Alireza jumps in with knight to E4. He's down 34 minutes on the clock, trying to be provocative. Knight takes E4. F takes E4 now, by the way. Very nice move. And Bluebaum plays a little too passively here and gives Firouzja a lot of initiative. But somehow, in the Dutch defense, when all of your pieces are sort of crashing into the white position, what I have experienced a lot playing this opening with black is there's always a way out for white. White can always find a way to liquidate. And you're about to see that. Look, bishop to b2, and now white is just trading pieces with you. So even though black can gain some momentum, can gain some initiative, something exciting in the Dutch, it's almost always nerfed. Now, knight c6 attacks the pawn. The queen slides over to e3. It's quite clear Bluebaum is just blowing, you know, trying to blow out the smoke. That's what he's trying to do. Knight goes back to e7. This is a free pawn, by the way. It is being given to him. Bluebaum, though, finds a nice idea, d5. And again, he's going to give away 1 pawn. He's going to win a pawn back. These 2 pawns are mutually assured to perish. And it's looking more and more like Firouzja is simply not going to get anywhere. Bishop c4, nice move. Rook f7. We trade. We win the pawn. It's 3-1 versus a scattered pawn structure. Firouzja does not have a way to conjure up anything here. He puts the knight on f4, knight to f3, just solid play. Firouzja playing d5, but the queen on b4, nice idea. Knight takes g2. It looks very powerful, but queen b6, I don't have to take the knight. I don't have to weaken my king. If you take here, right, we trade queens, and then I take your knight. I also can trade on the rook. Queen b6. Firouzja still putting a little bit of pressure, still trying to get something. This is maybe the best position he's had in the entire game, but it's just not good enough. There are all sorts of checks, but the king will go here. This pawn is actually much more dangerous than it seems. It starts moving forward. If you take on d4, I will give you check, and then I will promote my pawn, so you have to go here. And now Bluebaum playing h4, again sacrificing his knight. Rook b7. a7 gets a 3rd brilliant move, which is ridiculous, obviously. Rook a2. Rook b1, Alireza goes for this, but it's not enough. The rooks are swarming the king, but he has enough breathing room. King f1, rook e2. Very nice idea, by the way. Look at this. Rook e2 is nice. It's a nice move. Always the problem is the queen. Rook a1, check. It looks like you're going to win the rook, but there's nothing you can do. That's it. That's it. You're down to one pawn, rook h4, but Blue Baum very confident he can draw this game, and he's right. 2-on-1 rook and pawn endgame, even this endgame, f4. And this is a draw, because the flank pawn for black is the problem. Ladies and gentlemen, this game is a draw, which means Alireza Firouzja is probably eliminated from the candidates tournament, and Blue Baum is it. It all depends on this. It is now Giri with 8, Firouzja and Blue Baum 7.5. Vincent Keimer is the last man standing with 7. If Vincent Keimer manages to win this game, he qualifies to the candidates. If Vincent Keimer draws this game with 7.5 points, he will kick out potentially Firouzja, right? So like it, or Blue Baum. So that's the question. Now, I think his tie breaks are slightly worse than Blue Baum. So Blue Baum was watching this game going, is he going to win this? He's playing with black. No way, right? Okay. Queen's Indian. You got to play something provocative. Keimer has to win with black. That's the pressure. Watch what he does. He goes d6. I told you in the Hans Niemann game, sometimes to play a position where you need to play for a win, first you need to give the advantage to your opponent. And there is one man on this planet that likes to party, and his name is Arjun Erigaisi, who goes queen d3 and takes the entire center. All of it. Meanwhile, Vincent, 2 bishops back here, pawns on the 6th rank. He's playing like a little hippo. You know, bishop e2, knight d7. Look at Vincent's position. It's just back on the 6th rank. He's playing like a mini hippo. Because he's waiting. He's waiting for Erigaisi to come forward. Bishop 2-3, Erigaisi just making improving moves. Look at this, a6. He's just, Keimer, everything is on the 6th rank for him, waiting for Erigaisi to jump into the position. Castle, and now c5, game on, game on. Erigaisi immediately shutting the whole thing down. The bishop is here, knight is here. The thing is, you know you got a guy that's playing like, he's out to get, he has to win. It's kind of crazy to be playing with black, and you have to win. It's a very fascinating dynamic. Pawn takes. E takes, keeping everything symmetrical. Now the best move is b5. Keimer plays it, undermining the integrity of the white structure. If you take, this pawn becomes a lot weaker. Taking is very dangerous because your knight or your queen are going to get deflected that way. You're going to open up all of this. Knight is always coming to b6. d5 is falling. The best move is b3. Erigaisi plays it. Vincent puts the rook on the open file. Erigaisi slides the queen back. Probably the best move, defending with the bishop, pressuring, and also bishop h6 ideas. b4. Super complicated. Takes. Knight jumps out to a4, countering any sort of knight jumps for black. a5, holding everything together. Apparently, knight a4 or something here was bad. I don't know what. Maybe queen d2 was a bad move because of b4. And now suddenly Vincent is back in the game with knight e4. The rook is hanging. The knight has jumped into the position. Despite black seemingly playing without 2 of his most important pieces, black is doing very well. Bishop e4. Bishop e4, yeah, because bishop a1, yes. Rook a1, rook e4, and Erigaisi goes for a kingside attack. Vincent has grabbed a rook for a knight, but in the process lost his most important kingside defender. He has to move the rook. Now here comes bishop d4. Oh my goodness. Like I said in the Hans Niemann game, sometimes you need to suffer through a very dangerous position. Queen to e7. Pawn to f3, stabilizing the center a little bit. Maybe king f2 ideas, maybe rook e1 ideas, right? The knight is always ready to jump in as well. Vincent doesn't have many moves here. He is just playing defense, waiting for Arjun, but this is perfect. This is perfect. Now, Arjun here with white could potentially just do nothing, but he's better, so he's playing for a win. Queen f4, bishop c8. Vincent is waiting for the infiltration. There it is. There it is. But now here comes the knight. And suddenly, Arjun has mishandled the position, and Vincent puts the knight in the middle of the board. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Arjun clears out the position for the endgame. He now has 2 connected pawns walking forward. We have queen back to e3, Vincent Keimer, f6 or f5. Chooses the one the computer likes a little bit less, doesn't really matter. Here comes Arjun with the knight. Queen a7, counterattacking. pinning the rook. You defend the queen. The rook slides over. Vincent's taking over. Vincent is now better with black. It's still very complicated, wildly complicated position. F4, E4, locking the pawns. Now you have your own passed pawn. White has 2 passed pawns. There could be a passed pawn created over here as well. And suddenly Arjun makes a huge mistake. Knight to F3. You cannot take because of the rook, but black here has a move. Bishop E6, an absolute brilliancy sent in from the gods themselves with multiple ideas, like maybe sacrificing the bishop. The point of bishop E6 is that the rook is no longer here. So bishop E6 threatens to take the knight and also threatens to maybe sacrifice and get the queen into the game. Now, Vincent, that's a very tough move. He plays bishop A6, not the best move, allowing the knight to jump to E5, right? And now you don't have these sacrificial ideas on the D5 square. So rook to C8, he's still better. He will get another chance. We go to an endgame. Bishop B7 from Vincent. H5, Arjun doesn't know when to stop. Now the best move here is to sack the bishop. The best move is to sacrifice the bishop or to potentially play G5. He plays G5. All good. All good. Pawn takes. Sacrificing, removing the... But Vincent had the right idea. Destabilizing the knight to go rook to E8 is actually best. And then there are all sorts of crazy tactics. He goes rook C7. Arjun again, G4. Crazy stuff here. And now once again, the best move potentially is to sacrifice the bishop. But he goes rook E7. Knight goes back to D3. Rook G7. He's going to eat the pawns. Vincent is better. Knight back to F2. Rook takes G5. King F1. And again, maybe this is the right idea, but maybe keeping the tension is better. Bishop C8. Vincent has a minute. He spends a minute and 16 of his minute and 26, and he goes for it. The problem is there are not many pieces remaining. And even though you are successfully bringing your king, you just simply don't have enough material, maybe. Pawn takes G4, knight to D6, attacking the rook. Vincent goes here. Maybe he could have gone to E5, but this is already extremely difficult. He goes here. Arjun's going to pick up some pawns here, and there's just not enough. There is not enough to beat these 2 knights that are going to jump around the board constantly. And the king gets active. The knights are going to join forces. You have pressure here. And in this position, Vincent Keimer just offers a draw. He could have played this out for a little longer, but there was nothing remaining. These pawns are not going to beat this pawn. The knights are too strong. Vincent Keimer offered a draw, and that is the end of his candidate's chances because Bluebaum with 7.5 has the best tie breaks, and Anish Giri wins. He has 8 points, and Keimer has 7.5. Firouzja has 7.5. But none of it is enough. Some honorable mentions will go to Andy Woodward versus Yu Yang. This was a Queen's Gambit accepted in the final round. Andy Woodward could have made the candidates pending a miracle, but he just played uber solidly. The game ended in a draw with Yu Yang. Andy Woodward got 7 out of 11, lost 1 game, won 4, and gained 33 rating points in this tournament. He's 15 years old. Vidit versus Abhimanyu Mishra. This was a Grunfeld defense. And Abhimanyu tried his best. He was worse throughout this game. Vidit had some chances, but ultimately this one also ended in a draw. Abhimanyu Mishra did not lose a game in the Grand Swiss. 7 out of 11, 32 rating points gained for him. Drew like every 2,700 he played. Beat Yu Yang, beat Alexei Sarana, beat Gukesh, the world champ. Just epic, epic stuff. Divya Deshmukh had an amazing tournament. She ended with 5 out of 11. She ended on -1, but she gained 20 rating points. Alexandra Garyachkina played in the open section. One of the only women, along with Divya. On the women's side, the favorites, they brought it home. Every top board was a draw, which means Vaishali is actually your champion. Vaishali and Katerina Lagno, very simple, 2 winners. No tie breaks required. They were leading. It was a little bit tense for a while with Asobayeva, Tan Zhongyi, Yushin Song. All fought valiantly, but could not overcome the top 2 juggernauts. I don't think Lagno lost the game. Yeah, Lagno got 8 out of 11. She had 5 wins and 6 draws. Vaishali got 8 out of 11 with a loss. So she actually won 6 games. And she's the back-to-back champ. She makes the candidates again. Lagno makes the candidates. And yeah, folks, the candidates now for the men. You got Fabiano Caruana, the circuit winner of the last year. And you have Anish Giri returning to the candidates tournament. And you have Matthias Bluebaum, the underdog, The Grand Swiss always crowns an underdog. That's the beautiful part about it. It's not everybody loves it because the candidates is generally like the top 10 or 15 players in the world, with some exceptions. So Bluebaum is going to have a lot of work to do. He's going to have a lot of work to do. These are experienced killers he is coming up against. You saw how Geary played in the money round. Congratulations to him. Commiserations to Neiman, to Ferrugia, right? To oh my, Keimer is going to... Oh, Keimer's not going to sleep tonight. Keimer's not going to sleep tonight. He had a chance to beat Bluebaum and basically secure a spot, and he blundered in the end game, and just devastating stuff. Some other updates. Gukesh won in the last round, but he still dropped out of the world top 10. So did Nodirbek Abdulsatorov. Got people taking them over in the top 10. That's all I have for you for today. This was a great tournament, and if anything, if you're still watching this proved that if you take 200-300 of the world's top players, put them in a tournament, anything can happen. And that's what we need more of. That's what I've been talking about forever, but today is not the day. That's all. Get out of here.